Good morning, everyone. I'm Fran Wagner, President of the League of Women Voters of Kentucky. Thanks for joining us. Let's begin this briefing by my introducing Gennaro F. Vito, University of Louisville professor, Department of Criminal Justice. He's analyzed the recent Mason Dixon poll data, and he'll describe the results. Professor Vito.
Yes, thank you. The poll results strongly support restoring voting rights for felons who have completed probation or parole supervision. There's majority support across Kentucky, 67%, and that's across every region of the Commonwealth. There's majority support everywhere in Kentucky, according to the poll. And when you break it down demographically, men 63%, women 71%. Age, it goes from a high of 84 to a low of 59, but it's still majority support, and the support decreases with age by age group. And across the political parties, it's 76% Democrat, 56% Republican, and 65% independent. So again, you know, across the state, by region and by these demographics, there's majority level support for restoring felony voting rights. You can go to the next slide, and this is just your background on how the poll was conducted. It was conducted by Mason Dixon Polling and Strategy from Jacksonville, Florida, from February 1 through February 4 of this year. And 625 registered Kentucky voters were interviewed statewide by telephone. Now, a study that we did in 2008 of the 2008 election in Kentucky revealed that if felons had been allowed to vote, the outcome of the election would not have changed. Your major Republican candidates, John McCain and Mitch McConnell, would still have carried Kentucky. So there's, you know, if there's reticence about one party or another gaining particular support, if we restored felon voting, that's not true. It wouldn't have changed anything in this election. And in fact, when we did it, we made the assumption that every felon would vote, and that's certainly not true. Not everyone votes, but so I think it's time to lift this invisible punishment of felon disenfranchisement and grant them complete rights of citizenship. There are other studies that indicate former felons who have their voting rights restored have lower recidivism rates. So there's a multitude of benefits to be provided here, and the support is widespread across Kentucky. It's time to do it, as the first slide actually said. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vito. And we want to let remind everyone that there is a bill that's been filed by Representative Nemes. It has a bipartisan co-sponsorship, and we've listed the co-sponsors on this slide. So Representative Nemes, Representative Stevenson, Bojanski, Lawrence, Massey, Palumbo, Raymond, Stevenson, Timoney, Wheatley, and Wilner. House Bill 232. So the League of Women Voters has a call to action to place constitutional amendment on the ballot by allowing Kentuckians to decide whether voting rights should be automatically restored. And we're asking for support of House Bill 232 without amendment that would allow Kentuckians to vote one way or the other on this issue. So we're ready to take questions from the media if you type them into the chat box.
So we have a question from Jean Christensen, who asked whether we want support from people who have been convicted of a felony themselves.
We do hope that people who have been convicted of a felony will urge their legislators to co-sponsor this bill and vote for it. Yes.
All right, our next question is from James Mays. Why do you think support decreases among older people polled?
Professor Vito?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know why that's necessarily true. Might be more conservative in their views. See, the problem with trying to answer questions like that is we don't have access to the raw data, so we can't do crosstabs and multivariate analysis and see, you know, who the strongest supporters are and who the weakest supporters are. But again, across the board, the percentages show it's majority support across all demographics and the geographic regions of Kentucky.
Okay, the next question is, why do you think the bill isn't moving during this session?
Well, we're not privy to the decision-making on the bill, but we are very pleased with the bill being filed, and we're pleased with the wording of the bill. And our work is to raise awareness about it and inform people and encourage more legislators to co-sponsor it.
So the next question is from Bruce Maples. Will the data and crosstabs be available? And follow-up question, who has the raw data and why won't they release it?
The data on the poll will be up on the league's website. We tacked on to Mason Dixon's doing a poll for another client, so we didn't have the funds to purchase the right to that larger set of data. If we had had the money to do that, we would have been able to access it.
This question is from Travis Waldron. Did this ask specifically about restoration in all/most felony cases or with exceptions for certain crimes?
Here's the wording of the question. Quote, when a person in Kentucky is convicted of a felony, they automatically lose the right to vote. Do you think a person who has completed all terms of their felony sentence, including probation or parole, should or should not have the right to vote restored automatically? So it was a question about all felonies.
Tip Moody says, it seems that this issue has been covered by several outlets in the Louisville media market. Will it begin to gain more attention in the Lexington market? Are there any other questions? Oh, here we go. Joyce Fry asks, how many states allow voting by people who have committed felonies in the past?
All other jurisdictions except 3 have an automatic restoration of voting rights for persons that have committed a felony. So Kentucky is an outlier. Only Virginia, Iowa, and Kentucky have no provision for the automatic restoration of voting rights. And the league recently released a report that details where Kentucky stands relative to the rest of the country, and it is available on the league's website. We are an outlier, so the time is now, as Professor Vito said, for us to make this change and allow people in the state to vote one way or the other. And it's clear from what Professor Vito has communicated that there is a majority of Kentuckians that support this constitutional amendment.
So there is another question from Savvy Shabazz. My question is why? Why are voting rights targeted to be taken away?
Professor Vito, do you have any comment on that?
Well, it's just an extension of the punishment. And it really doesn't make a lot of sense when you're when you're thinking about rehabilitation. I mean, so you have some people who are not full-fledged members of society because they don't have a right to vote. So if they've completed their term of their sentence and their term of probation, parole, supervision, their voting rights should be restored. There's no reason to extend the punishment. And like I said, it's an invisible punishment.
The press release and the information about the poll will be up on the league's web page, along with the report that the league has recently released. If there are no more questions, Jen?
Yeah, so I don't see any more questions in the chat box. I will drop a link to the league's outreach circle in the chat box. So you can follow the League of Women Voters of Kentucky on our outreach circle. We will have information about this that will be posted. In addition, there's our other report on disenfranchisement of people who've been convicted of felony convictions will also be there, as well as additional information on redistricting if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Thank you very much, everybody.
Welcome.